Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I am Carex, and we're going to be doing another timeline and final thoughts. This time in Sri Lanka, playing as Kandy. Kandy is an interesting country. There's a few different achievements you can do as Kandy, and we actually were able to. Well, no spoilers. Let's let it go. So Kandy's actually a subject of Koti here. And one of the first things you're going to do is get your independence. Boom. You're just going to declare right on your overlord for your independence. You might as well take all their land. You guys are Theravada Buddhist nations down here. Everybody else is either Hindu, or once you get a little bit higher, you get Sunnis and some Shia, Brahmanas, Shia, so on and so forth. Actually, holy cow, things are moving fast. It's a big, massive land grab between us and Vijayanagar. Unfortunately, Vijayanagar took the Maldives even. They were like going super aggressive. We're trying to get claims on everybody. We're trying to go, go, go. We took a couple little provinces. Not much. We're going to end up actually vassalizing, taking this province and then releasing this guy as a vassal. But man, Vijayanagar really like bopped us good. We do have the alliance with Brahmanas. We're going to use them to help us win a war against Vijayanagar. Vijayanagar even integrated this nation here. This nation starts as a subject of Vijayanagar. Vijayanagar went and just demolished all the other nations though. So this guy actually, we did a reconquest war, which was kind of cool because we didn't have to push the war to the limit because it was really cheap to give this land back. So I think we didn't full siege Vijayanagar. I think we just got a key fort or two down here and just demanded all that. Really low, cheap war deal just because the reconquest war allowed us to take the land pretty cheaply. So we really didn't have a very good start. We ran this a couple times. It took us a few attempts to kind of get off the ground here. Beating up Koti is really easy, sort of consolidating Sri Lanka mostly, except for this province here that belongs to Vijayanagar at the start of the game through a subject, right? And then just, this was a bad grab of land, getting only 3 provinces down here. Usually, if you go really fast, you might be able to get the Maldives yourself. You might be able to get some other important provinces yourself. Another reconquest war. This time we ended up grabbing a couple pieces of land because at this point we don't really have that much aggressive expansion with anybody. These are also Hindu nations, so Brahmanas doesn't care, Orissa doesn't care, Gujarat doesn't care. Those are all Sunnis. I think at this point, these guys, I believe, are independent at the moment, but they're going to shrink down. And we've integrated these guys. We got all the cores back with them. Great. So we integrated them. Now we're not looking too small. We're going to actually attack these guys because we actually can reach up there to get the claim. We're going to attack these guys, take their land, release them. Boom. Take them, release them. Now we have another subject. These guys have a big reconquest war on this section here. We're moving our way up the coast. We're prioritizing the coast. We're calling in Brahmanas in each of these wars. However, there's going to be a point where Brahmanas actually gets out of rhythm with us, and they want to take their own land. You can see that we gave Brahmanas a few provinces over here in the reconquest war down here because they expected land, right? We had to guarantee land. They didn't want to just fight Vijayanagar for free. Our first idea, actually, if we take a pause here, was expansion ideas. And we've been colonizing over here. A little bit goofy, not exploration, expansion. So we don't have any ways to make explorers. We cannot see Australia. We cannot see the Cape. So the fact that Portugal is working on the Cape, we can't see it. We can't affect it. We can't change it, unfortunately. We also can't see these little islands here. So Spain's going to be able to skip across here. Portugal is going to land on Australia way sooner than we ever thought because we never knew. We never had vision down there. You can see another reconquest war here. So we've taken back some more for Andhar. And also more against, in the initial sort of war against Orissa. At this point, we're just trying to make sure Brahmanas doesn't get a big chunk here, but I think they do come in and get a chunk. We ended up grabbing a couple more provinces and then releasing those as additional nations that we could... yeah, see, Brahmanas came in, took some land, but then they forced release these guys, so we're going to be able to gobble these guys up independent of that. We ended up fighting Brahmanas right there. Boom. First war against Brahmanas. We break in truces with Brahmanas. Brahmanas gets completely destroyed and eaten by Jaunpur, Gujarat. Everybody's just feasting grounds on Brahmanas once we break our alliance with them. We're refeeding land to our different subjects over here. This subject gets integrated. These subjects are going to get integrated at some point soon here. Moving our way up the coast, right? Just removing people's navy. We are continually colonizing in Brunei and in Indonesia, trying to basically gobble up as much land as possible, knowing the Europeans are going to be coming, trying to block them out of anything, getting a lot of provinces in here, knowing that there's some really good centers of trade and stuff, trying to just set the stage. We haven't really done too many wars down here against the actual locals in this area, but we're just sort of setting the strategic positioning for this. We did end up using this colonized island here to get a claim on Pegu. Pegu's got a really, really good, it's actually part of the Bengal node. Pegu is actually part of the Bengal node, so Getting more trade power in Bengal meant we could push it down to here. We started making a lot of money with trade, needless to say, and part of that was that we needed to get more influence on Bengal, but we allied Bengal and we allied Gujarat. We used a lot of ships. We had a huge navy, partly because we went expansion, I think gives us more naval force limit. We also took trade, I think, and some other things. I think there's a cross play there that gives us some naval force limit and stuff policy. So we're just beating up the coast. We're really just trying to be a naval dominance. We're trying to be a colonial dominance. We're trying to be a trade dominance, and that's kind of what's going on here. Just slowly eating Balmanis. You can see we took a big bite out of Balmanis, trying to cut Balmanis off from Jaunpur, trying to cut them off from Gujarat. We did end up spawning global trade in Goa. So what are we coming up on? 1600. Global trade is spawning in Goa, which is really, really cool. Or was that 15? No, 1550 is the printing press. We've been deving up an insane amount. We actually have just, because we have so much money, we're able to hire level 5 advisors in every category. One of the cool things is we actually don't have, none of this is our culture down here. All of our culture group is actually up here. So what that means is that once we actually get imperialism and therefore nationalism, we're going to have nationalism CB on Bengal. That's why we're like, okay, we'll just keep Bengal as an ally and we'll eat them later. Because once we had nationalism, oh man, we could take we could eat Bengal in like 2 bites with nationalism. It was crazy because all of this is not accepted culture, but all our culture group is up here. So that means that we couldn't actually get the benefits of having the empire that early, and we were just basically over here. We're trying to just gobble up the loose bits. We notice we get exploration later on. It took us forever. We never would have seen Australia. We get exploration later on. We start frantically working on New Zealand. And frantically working on, we realize that this is a new trade node since 1.3, I think, or maybe since the Manchurian patch. This is a new trade zone. So we tried to work on that. Unfortunately, I think Castile took a valuable trade center down here. Portugal took a trade center down here. If we did this differently, I think we would have been much more aggressive with the colonization, but this did feed into our economy beautifully. We had trade companies all through Indonesia. We had, of course, Sunburn Island, the colonial nation here. But I think we would have dominated Australia more. I think we would have dominated the Polynesian node more had we known like what the situation over there was. But we didn't have exploration. We took exploration like 5th idea group maybe, just because we were realizing that we needed to explore so that we could colonize more. We'd colonize everything that we could see. And we're just sort of doing the wars against sort of piecing apart the different nations over here. We had some, unfortunately, the Hindu nations down here actually sort of got removed, and this was all Sunni. Coalitions were a huge issue down here. Everybody was allied together. So it was very frustrating trying to piece apart the alliances down here. Malacca, Siak, Brunei. I mean, this is kind of the aftermath of it, but all these guys were allied together. Once we got up to Philippines, it was pretty easy because those guys are still Hindu at this point. At this point, we have to break ties with Gujarat. We have to break ties with Bengal. We're about to get imperialism and things are just going to pop off. Our free claims for Kandy are right here. We actually have pretty terrible missions as Kandy. We only get one chunk of sort of Heartland India here that is free claims. We don't have like all the amazing mission trees of Bengal or Vijayanagar or Balmanis or Gujarat or Jaunpur that just let you conquer all of India on permanent claims. Nope. Ava's actually, ironically, Ming survived for a long time despite a very big and powerful Manchu. So Ming had no mandate the whole game. But it was actually Ava that actually took the fight to Ming and started beating up Ming, and that was just crazy. Pegu actually migrated. Pegu like went up here, and then they went over here, and then they pushed back over here. But we ended up controlling all of sort of the Bengal area down here, and the Malacca area is all trade company. This is all trade company. We're making a huge amount of money there. Our income is just insane. Somewhere around this point, we're actually getting the hegemony, and at this point, we have no more allies because the hegemony makes it very hard to get allies. We never actually fought the European powers. It would have been cool to take South Africa. That would have been really good for our own trade. It would have been cool to reclaim Australia from Portugal. We just never did that. With imperialism, you can see we're taking big chunks. And of course, the goal of the run, we're getting a little ahead of myself here. The goal of the run here, it's actually moving really fast considering we're on speed 1 on the timeline. But the goal of the run is to conquer India and convert it to Theravada, right? That is the goal of Kandy. That is the infamous Buddhist strike back. There's also cotton candy. Cotton candy we had a long time ago. You only really have to take the south to get cotton candy. But we're doing a two birds with one stone here. And we ended up actually going a little bit of a surprise here at the very, very end. We were able to form Bharat, but I mean, this color is just too good. I mean, who'd want to do that? The candy color is just amazing. We wanted to make sure that we were singing Kandy loud and proud. With the imperialism, though, we're just gobbling these guys up. We're getting a nice border here. What we have to do is we have to conquer all of the subcontinent of India. We're trade accompanying all of this stuff in Southeast Asia. We're going to take some chunks out of Ava here just to sort of clean up the border and make it look a little bit prettier and get a bigger name. Name's kind of wigging out here for a second here. We are almost done. One more war against Jaunpur, about 1730. We have completed the achievement to convert all of India to Theravada and thus get the Buddhists strike back. And this is kind of what we're dealing with here. We never did attack the Europeans. We absolutely could have. We're by far the most powerful country in the world, times, magnitudes more powerful than anybody else in the world. And also, of course, our powers in this region, so we would have very easily been able to take back the land from France. I just wasn't really interested in doing a 15-year war against these different countries, and having to logistically get up here and beat up France proper. The interesting thing is Spain was very powerful this game. France was very powerful. Great Britain was very powerful. Portugal was pretty powerful. None of them really disrupted each other. This looks like a pretty boring Europe, if you ask me, to be honest. Except for Teutonic Order popping off and Poland and Lithuania really not getting anything done. Scandinavia, I mean, this is Scandinavia forming is not unusual. This is a pretty boring Europe, unfortunately, but Ava, I think, ultimately causing the downfall of Ming is pretty cool. And being the only one when Manchu is actually getting beat up by Ming, Ava was the one that was actually sort of beating Ming up. Actually, it looks like Russia is actually taking bites out of Manchu and sort of causing the demise there. But if we undo the timeline here, we have revolutionary Kandy. The revolution spawned in our country. We were the birthplace of the revolution, which apparently it's supposed to spawn in Europe or something like that, but it spawned here. And we're just like, cool, let's roll with it. So we have we are revolutionary Kandy. We have almost 100 revolutionary zeal. We have an amazing CB that's basically like permanent nationalism on anybody to spread the revolution. We can get minus 50% aggressive expansion, minus 50% cost for conquest. I mean, plus 150% prestige. I mean, this is literally nationalism on everybody that hasn't embraced the revolution, which is crazy. I mean, it's just insane to me. And now presumably they can embrace it on their own or whatever. It doesn't work. It's somehow kind of like an institution, but it's not an institution. I don't know. Just different, I guess. There's different factions associated with that. I wasn't particularly impressed with this stuff. This is all added with the Emperor DLC. It's kind of neat. It is what it is. If we go to our ideas here, we ended up ditching exploration ideas, so keep that in mind. And picking up religious just to help us convert things more quickly. Of course, the map mode that we all want to see is the Theravada here. Beautiful Theravada India there. We didn't bother converting any of the land in here in the trade company zones because those don't contribute to our poor religious unity, so we're totally fine with that. Our income is 1,500 profit, 2,000 income, so we did take a long time ago, about 100. I think we said about 80 years ago or so, maybe 100 years ago, we ended up taking the hegemony for economic hegemony. Now, we could have probably built up a naval hegemony if we wanted to, or military hegemony would have been tricky, because actually now it's saying we have a huge amount of force limit. This is not accurate. This hasn't updated our autonomy yet, because we haven't actually played this file. I'm just loading it up to do the timeline. So this is not up to date here. I think our force limit is like 600 or 700,000. This is counting all of the trade company land, saying it's zero autonomy. That's not true. This is 90% autonomy, so it hasn't updated there. A little bit of a bug when you load the game. It looks like, what are we doing here? Oh, we're just counter-espionaging in Russia, I guess. Basically, so we're making a lot of money, and just an insane amount of money. We ended up ditching exploration ideas because we didn't need the colonists anymore. We didn't need the world's been explored. We don't need colonists. So we ditched that, but we ended up taking about a fourth idea group, and that's when we found out, oh no, Portugal's taking over Australia, right? We ended up going expansion and trade. Expansion is a weird take. We had a good economy when we took expansion, and we had a lot of admin points. It's just a very niche, sort of weird option. We just figured that getting more speed at colonizing and getting the trade influence here was going to be better, more well-rounded than trying to do exploration, which for the most part, we kept looking at this and saying, this just isn't going to help us that much. It was going to give us one colonist and a bunch of other stuff we just didn't care about, whereas expansion just gave us a lot of things like the extra merchants, the extra trade power, just a bunch of things that we could directly use. I think we saw the policies were a little bit better too. We went in trade ideas, we just started making insane money. We didn't really need offensive ideas because for the most part, we were just beating up weaker nations the whole game. I mean, we didn't need military ideas early. Getting offensive ideas was great, but you can see we ended up taking quality, but for the most part, and our national ideas are not great. They're not very military focused. So for the most part, like, we really didn't need many military ideas this run. So we were able to really bolster the economy and stuff. We never took economics. That would have been good. Our development is, let's look at the development through here. It's just like, wowzers. We spent so many extra points developing because we have 50 in our capital, 40, 30, 30. I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to get everybody up to like 25 or 30 or something like that. 40. And some of these were boosted because of institutions, but we tried to get all these up to 30 because I think that's how much you need for enlightenment to spawn. I don't think we even got enlightenment to spawn. Maybe industrialization. I don't know. Has this even spawned yet? Has it even spawned yet? Oh, we don't have that's for furnaces. Yeah, unfortunately we didn't actually get this. This ended up spawning in Europe. But we had a number of provinces that were eligible for enlightenment but never spawned. You can see global trade did spawn in Goa though. Global trade spawning in Goa, that's kind of cool, right? Because we had to push a certain amount of money into this node to make it the most valuable node in the world. I mean, right now it's like overwhelmingly valuable, right? Just 450 ducats, which is insane compared to like, I mean, there's 180 in the English node, 70 in Genoa. That's not good, but it's something, right? But at the time, we were still like, we had like 60, 70 ducats down here. We did a lot of shenanigans to boost it as much as we could. And we ended up having it by like 30, 40 ducats. It wasn't even close. So we had global trade spawn down here. But yeah, that's our candy, guys. If you guys have more questions, if I'm missing anything, feel free to ask. We are the Revolutionary Republic government type, right? So presumably we're still working on government reforms. Which is kind of cool. There's some really neat stuff here. If we kept playing this file, it's just that we've kind of finished our mission. We don't really need to do that. Again, we took expansion into trade, into offensive, into exploration, and then administrative. Humanist. Humanist was just because I was getting fed up with the rebels. We could have done a religious. We didn't need religious. Our conversion strength is so high. Just being a Theravada for some reason, it just gives us a lot of conversion strength. We actually didn't really need religious ideas to give us a religious. We could convert all the provinces really quickly. We just eventually wanted to kind of wrap things up, get it done faster. So we ended up getting religious, but it wasn't required through the run. We were converting everything as we went. Totally fine. But guys, that is Kandy. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. We are going to be doing a little bit of a quick start guide with Kandy, and that'll be something to check out if you guys are interested in kind of like a little bit of a showcase on how we actually got started and sort of a retreading of the opening moves and the situation at the start of the game. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. I will see you guys in the next one.